Chapter 2192, Hua also has a good helper. Ryan looked at Hua in the distance with a smug smile on his face. If you want to kill me, then, he waved to Hua, you must be prepared to kill yourself too. His expression suddenly turned ferocious. I'm not afraid of death. What about you? Do you have the courage to go to hell with me? Ha ha ha. If you're just going to waste your energy on me, I'm sorry, but I also have a very strong self-healing ability. He turned the huge, heavy scythe in his hand, admiring the fearful look in Hua's eyes with great satisfaction. However, the fear and astonishment on Hua's face quickly disappeared. The huge cat head has the corners of its mouth slightly raised, and its raised front paw with broken bones was gently placed on the ground. The cat's claw that was originally broken has now recovered as before. I'm so sorry. A voice came from Hua, originating from the cat language translation device on her body. I have no intention of dying with a scum like you. Besides, I've long been aware of your abilities, little mouse. Hua's face was full of sarcasm. By the way, cats have 9 lives. You want to compete with me in vitality? You're courting death. The huge body of more than 200 meters roared towards the Rhine. Rhine stared at Hua's body. He thought Hua was just showing off. However, when he saw Hua's agile movements, he finally realized that Hua's injuries were really healed. How is that possible? Rhine couldn't believe what he saw. With injuries of that severity, even with his powerful repair abilities, it would take him some time to recover. What's more, Hua, who has a larger body, will be more seriously injured. But only now, in less than 10 seconds, it recovered? Ryan couldn't understand it at all, but Hua's words reminded him, and he immediately broke out in a sweat. Hua has known about his abilities for a long time. In other words, Hua already had a way to deal with it. Meow! A cat's roar came from the front. Hua moved so fast that she rushed straight to Ryan like a gust of wind. It was a simple and direct frontal attack. It opened its huge mouth and first shot out a beam of high-energy particles. Ryan raised his heavy scythe to block in front of him. The red high-energy particle beam hit Ryan's body fiercely, almost pressing him into the mud. I just don't believe that my ability will lose its effect. Ryan was also furious at this time. He simply gave up defense and opened his chest to let Hua's attack fall on his chest. Boom! He was knocked flying in an instant, leaving a deep and long crack on the ground. The sound of broken bones could also be heard on Hua's body, which was the damage to her heart. Hua's body suddenly stopped in midair, and she immediately stopped attacking. But not long after, its complexion returned to normal. As a combatant, Hua was facing a formidable opponent. However, Hua was not alone. What is the answer? It's in Hua's belly. That's right, it fought with Zhou Qi. In this battle, Zhang immobilized all the forces he could. As a doctor, Zhou Qi was originally unable to directly participate in the war. At most, she could provide treatment to the soldiers on the front line in the rear. However, in the ongoing life-and-death duel, her appearance would actually become a burden to her comrades. However, having Hua, who possesses powerful fighting power and a beastly physique, with her can perfectly solve this problem. Zhou Qi has been hiding in Hua's belly, and they were arranged to fight Ryan. What Ryan fears most is the existence of someone with greater recovery ability than him. He had no idea that inside the belly of the giant beast before him, there was actually a powerful medical type Epsilon-class mutant. So for Hua, as long as she doesn't launch a fatal attack on Ryan in one breath, at most she will just be hurt a little, and then she can slowly wear Ryan down to death. Ryan struggled to crawl out of the crack in the ground. His self-healing ability was pretty good. But when he saw with his own eyes that the giant beast was safe and sound, looking down at him with the eyes of a cat catching a mouse, his heart finally broke. These guys, they knew our abilities a long time ago. Damn it. Those damn traitors, they haven't been tested, and they revealed our secrets. Ryan roared angrily on the communication channel. To the Empire's high-ranking officials, the abilities of Inhumans above the level of Epsilon are top secret. Aside from a small number of members of the royal family and their fellow silver-armored generals who fought alongside them, no one knew the exact nature of their abilities. So now, on both battlefields, their abilities were being restrained and targeted by the other side. There was no need to have any doubt that it was the 6 captured silver-armored generals who leaked their secrets. Being betrayed by his own compatriots made Ryan heartbroken and angry. Death is acceptable, but betraying the interests of one's own race is an unforgivable crime. What made him even more desperate was that in this situation, he was standing in front of Hua like naked, so how could he fight? But they didn't know Yang Xinshin's abilities and thought that the captured silver-armored generals had leaked the secret. But that doesn't matter anymore, because the result is the same. Meow. Hua looked up to the sky and let out a loud and clear cat meow. It was not a deliberately lowered growl, but it was a cute sound that sounded full of teasing. It stared at Ryan with a completely cat-and-mouse attitude, slowly circling around him and approaching step by step. Inside Hua's body, Zhou Kuo reminded her, Hua, be careful to control your strength. Although I can heal your injuries as quickly as possible, I can't eliminate your pain. Pain is also a very important sense of the body and cannot be blocked, otherwise you will lose the ability to judge the injury. But Hua didn't agree with this at all, because it was born as a stray cat. During the years that he had been with Zhang Yi, he had experienced countless battles, big and small, and he didn't care about the pain caused by a minor injury at all. I'll slowly get rid of him. Hua raised the beard at the corner of his mouth and suddenly rushed out, as fast as black lightning. Soon, a huge shadow enveloped the Rhine. In other combat zones, the aliens in Colombia began to feel heavy in their hearts after hearing what Bam and Rhine said. Chapter 2193, Colorful Burning. But Brad reminded everyone, don't panic. Perhaps the intelligence leak is only part of the story, and the abilities of people like Baum and Rhine are relatively easy to identify. Perhaps they're just too nervous. Furthermore, even if their abilities were leaked, our Wulwan tribe's powerful bodies and rich combat experience are enough to crush them. Although this is true, the situation throughout the battle was completely controlled by the Huashu Nationality Coalition forces. From the moment the Iron Curtain of the Sky was breached until now, large numbers of mechanical life forms have rushed into the East City District and begun to carry out large-scale slaughter and destruction. Even if you have a heart of stone, you can't be completely indifferent. If you have concerns in your heart, you will naturally be hindered when fighting. In Dongcheng District, the burning flames and the roaring collapse of buildings have filled the streets with fleeing crowds. They rushed to drive their home spaceships and land vehicles, trying to move towards the Imperial City area, which seemed safer. However, due to excessive chaos, many vehicles collided with each other halfway, causing a series of car accidents. Moreover, the administrative agency in Dongcheng District immediately dispatched city law enforcement personnel to stop them from moving forward. Go back, everyone. Get your weapons and join the fight to protect our homeland. Don't bring the fighting to the main city. Of course, they did not allow these civilians to leave the East City District because other districts were very chaotic, and the main district was also where the Imperial City was located, and it could not be disturbed. The safety of the nobility and the royal family needs to be ensured. Some lizard men had no choice but to pick up their weapons tremblingly, praying in their hearts that the human coalition forces would be stopped by their troops. However, ideals are beautiful, but reality is extremely cruel. Boom! A colorful beam of light suddenly came from the distant sky and hit the tallest communication tower in Dongcheng District squarely. The towering building, which was more than 1,000 meters high, was cut in half and collapsed from the middle. Communications throughout the city were severely disrupted, and countless people heard harsh noises coming from their headphones. And at this moment, a heavy sound, as if the earth was about to break, approached step by step from a distance. Many lizard men turned their heads in horror. Through the city border that was burning with flames and collapsed with a lot of ruins, they saw a huge and terrifying steel behemoth approaching step by step. This super-large mechanical life form is advancing towards the urban area at a constant speed. Most of the troops sent by the Wulwan Empire to stop them have been wiped out. The iron curtain in the sky was broken, and outside the iron curtain, 3 super battleships were still exerting their strength and bombarding the iron curtain. This forced the iron curtain to consume a large amount of energy for defense and was unable to provide timely support to ground troops. All the high-level aliens were held back one by Zhang Yi and others. Then all that would be left would be the remaining 1/10 of the Wulwan Empire's legions and those mechanical war beasts. But how can they resist the mechanical army specially designed to fight against aliens? In the era of the Yuan tribe, they relied on these powerful steel monsters to conquer one nation after another and eventually became the kings of that period. Soon, they retreated step by step. In less than an hour, more than 20,000 lizardmen soldiers were killed. The number of destroyed spaceships and mechanical war beasts reached tens of thousands. The Fueying troops led by Bailey Chongqing also followed the mechanical army and rushed to the urban area of the Wulwan Empire. Looking at the huge lizardmen that filled the streets and the ruined city burning with chaotic flames, the eyes of these warriors in combat uniforms and holding weapons were filled with naked fighting spirit. Bailey Chongqing held a huge metal spear in his hand. This weapon was similar to a spear, but it had a huge piece of heavy metal at the tip, so it had the functions of both a sharp and blunt weapon, making it very suitable for chopping and colliding on the battlefield. For someone with strengthening abilities like Bailey Chongqing, it is an excellent weapon. He stood on the street, and the huge lizardmen had to look up at him because of his size. He looked at everything coldly and suddenly swung the long spear in his hand, causing a strong wind to blow, which immediately knocked the lizardmen in front of him to the ground. This was the first time that most people in the Wulwan Empire had seen humans. Their eyes were filled with astonishment and curiosity. They seemed to have not expected that these invaders were so small, nor could they imagine that such seemingly weak humans could pose such a huge threat to them. The lizardmen of the Wulwan Empire are very similar to the lizardmen of the Nash Kingdom. They should have been the same race billions of years ago. Even though they have evolved throughout history, their general appearance is no different. Most of the lizardmen were wearing high-end clothes, just like the city dwellers in the human world before the end of the world, with confusion and innocence written all over their faces. Kill him. Bailey Chongqing opened his mouth wide and suddenly let out a roar. Then he bent down and rushed forward first. Bailey Chongqing, with an ability index of 9,999 points and the ability Iron Fist, is now second only to the aliens of Ypsilon's level in strength. He was like a gust of wind, rushing from the streets at the end of the ruined city. In just a moment, the strong wind caused by the ultra-high-speed movement shattered a large number of surrounding buildings. Boom, boom, boom. The wind pressure alone was enough to make everything around unable to withstand the pressure, let alone those ordinary lizardmen. The long spear in Bailey Chongqing's hand turned into a phantom, and he swung it in a circle and swept it out directly. Puff! With just one strike, the spear continued to move forward due to inertia, smashing the bodies of dozens of lizardmen on the street into pieces in one breath. Their tall bodies and tough scales did not provide any protection at this time. The long spears smashed their bodies into pieces, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. Bailey Chongqing will not show any mercy because these lizardmen all have weapons in their hands. Moreover, when he thought about the massacre they had inflicted on the Huashu Kingdom, Bailey Chongqing wished he could grow more hands and feet so he could kill more lizardmen. Seeing this, the Fueying troops behind him quickly followed. Xiao Honglian, wearing a black combat uniform, drank a mouthful of compressed fire oil, then jumped onto a tall building and suddenly spit out a fire dragon hundreds of meters long downwards. In that area, there was also a group of lizardmen who were forced to use weapons to resist. They instantly caught fire and turned into huge fireballs. Stay with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.